to the Lake Lewis Jr. Show, and as promised, it's Friday, Fan Day, and I've got four of the better supporters of the Burgundy and Gold. These guys know exactly what they're talking about, and we're not going to hold them up. We're not going to waste any time. We're going to talk about John Allen. John Allen, last week when I had these gentlemen on, I was in Indianapolis at the Combine. We talked about John Allen potentially being a trade piece. Could he be a bargaining chip to go into maybe a first round draft pick for potential like a Myles Garrett or, Hendrickson from Cincinnati, or even at the time, Max Crosby. Well, now we know Max Crosby's off the books because he signed a massive deal to remain with the Raiders. So congratulations to him. But now, if you think of Myles Garrett and if you think of Hendrickson, who's now been given permission himself to seek a trade, we're going to talk about that. But before we get into that, I want to get your take though on John Allen. With him being released, no one could trade for him. What I'm seeing with this gentleman is that no one wanted him. No one wanted to give up draft picks for this guy. So I just want to get your take on that. Are you surprised by the move? And we'll start with Josh.
Definitely not surprised. All the love and respect in the world to John. Loved him being a teammate, but I think his attitude the last couple of years in the locker room is reflecting a lot of what this move is. And second part, it's also sending a message to somebody else on the line as well. Yeah, I'm not surprised by it at all. No.
Okay. All right, Brandon.
Same. It's like we've talked about it on this program, and I know a lot of people have been very instrumental and very vocal about his antics in the locker room. Well, not antics, but just he's always very vocal in the locker room, and his vocals and what he says doesn't really back up what his production is.
Right.
And his production was not. It was okay in the last three games. There, he was hurt, but I wasn't surprised. I thought I did, like I said, I did think somebody would have picked him up, but maybe it'll happen on the free agency deadline. But I think it's next man up. We're building a team to beat the foes of the East. That is the Eagles. So we need the firepower. So
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Brad, what do you have?
I wasn't shocked at all. And like I said, teams knew we were going to get rid of him anyway, so they just waited. Why give up an asset when they can just wait and get him? I do think he'll be picked up pretty fast. He'll go somewhere. Probably won't get the money he's going to look for, but as everyone mentioned, next man up. We're trying to build a stable here, right? Next man up.
Okay. All right, DJ, down at the Gator Nationals in Gainesville, Florida. So what do you think? And before you answer, because I know you were critical of John as well, and his lack of production. Fairly critical, not just going after the guy, but you mentioned several times, doing stuff with me, that when you aren't doing what you're supposed to do for the type of money, this guy wasn't being paid like a top 20 D tackle. He was being paid like top 6, top 7 money,
right?
And no production. So you say you weren't shocked?
No, not shocked at all. You can't be your play can't be, your mouth can't be bigger than your play. And a lot of times he, spouted off the mouth frustrations, but then we go and see his play on the field, and that doesn't show how frustrated you are. And I think we saw a lot of times this season when he was out of the lineup, it seemed like the front four, that front seven worked a lot better. And then as soon as he was inserted back into the lineup, it seems like the run defense failed. Gap responsibility started to fail a little bit more. And we saw that it just didn't seem to work. So being surprised about him leaving, no. And I'm not surprised that nobody wanted to give up any type of a draft pick. Why would you? I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think he warranted anybody giving up any type of draft capital for picking him up. It's average play. He's at best, he's somebody that you can put in rotation.
Yeah, I hear all of you guys, and I agree with you. I think Brad, you definitely hit it on the head earlier, and DJ just followed up on that. You couldn't get a 6th rounder for this guy. You couldn't get a 7th rounder for this guy. Yeah. I mean, that tells you a lot about the way other teams look at him. And we're not throwing shade or, throwing dirt on a guy who's not going to be here. But what we're saying is that, yes, you have a massive cap hit. That salary this year, I think his cap number somebody's going to have to pick up 15 million regardless of what they give him going forward. That's a lot of money for a guy that's just not been producing. And I think if you're Washington and you saw the play of Johnny Newton as the season progressed, once he started getting healthier, I think they're expecting big things from him in year number 2. I know I am. But if you look at a guy like Sheldon Day, who came in and off the street literally and was more productive in his play. Those are signs to tell you that maybe you need to start purging and get rid of, some of these high salary guys. So my next question to you guys is, if you're Deron Payne, does this raise the hair on your arm up? Brad, we'll start with you.
Absolutely. Sit the sheriff down, right? And and a lot of times they say that GM didn't draft you. You're not that GM guy though. So
Yeah.
you better work your butt off, man. Get your feet work together, get your weight down, get in the weight room, and watch over your shoulder. And actually, I want that kind of team, right? I want the
Yeah.
guy to look over my shoulder because the guy behind me is hungry. So that makes me fight for my position more. So heck yeah, he better be on the lookout.
Okay, Brandon.
I mean, yeah, it seems like to me teams are kind of like doing what the EPL does in England, the soccer league. Like they get you for, you're 19 to your mid 20s, and then what happens? Those guys go get the bag over in Italy, or they go get the bag over in
Sure.
Spain, And if you're not producing, they'll find somebody that can, because look, it's the NFL. I mean, there's always somebody that's hungry that's want to go. I mean, I hope Duran has a strong year, and I hope we get what we can out of him. And but I mean, yeah, we like I said it again, we got to build this team to go for the next decade, because the Eagles, man, Howie Roseman's not messing around. That dude is not
No, he's
messing
not.
around.
No, he's not. And he's put himself just flat out into the sweepstakes for Myles Garrett or for Hendrickson,
Of
and
course, of
Yeah.
you
course.
can't you can't allow that if you're Washington. You
No,
just can't. Josh, what do you think about Deron Payne?
No, it's just, I'll reiterate what the other guy said, and I've thought this since he got that bag. He just hasn't produced. I love the kid. I think we've seen the potential,
Mm-hmm.
but all the sacks came from everybody else besides Allen and Payne this last season. I
Well,
kept thinking, where are my two boys?
if you let other people tell you, DJ, how many times have we heard this over the years? Well, he was being double teamed, so he was holding up an extra offensive line, and stop it. Just
I get
stop
tired of that
it.
excuse because he got paid that bag to get through those two guys.
That's exactly right. And DJ, listen, man. If you're coming from Bama, you've probably been double teamed before.
Exactly.
If you've gone to
Exactly.
a Pro Bowl, you've
Exactly.
probably been double teamed before. Why does all of a sudden it seem like that's a new thing in Washington? And people think that, the guy walked into a sack in the playoffs last year and they were like, see, he's back. Back from where?
Right. Exactly. He's inconsistent, and I need more consistency from him, especially for what the money is being paid and what they're expecting out of him. I mean, we've seen it on tape. He has the ability to do it. All these great players, all these great guys take double teams all the time, and they find ways to get sacked. I mean, you don't think Trey Henderson is getting double teamed every time, or Joey Bosa getting double teamed every time, and they're still getting to the quarterback. You can take a look at that whole entire. Yes, you can take a look at that whole entire Eagles defensive line. Somebody at some point in time is getting double teamed, because it's almost like you have no choice. You have to pick your poison. Those guys are still getting sacked. So that's just a bunch of excuses, man. You either working hard or you're not, and the tape won't lie on that.
Well, Adam Peters sent the signal. He sent it loud and clear that it's produce or pack. That's it. It's one of the P's. You're either going to produce and get paid, or you're going to be packing. So
That signal says in the sky, producer.
big W.
So the other big story was, since we were on last week, and I'm not gonna sit here and pat myself on the back, but you remember what I told you last week at this time, literally.
Swami Lewis, he knows.
Yeah, literally it mentioned, if you're watching and you don't know what we're talking about, last week in Indianapolis, I had these gentlemen on, it's Friday fan day, so they're always on. And, I told them that the team was meeting with Deebo, today, and which was Friday. and that you only would have to give up a fifth. I said a fourth at best, but I said a fifth, and that's what it was. So are you surprised by that move, and do you like the move? So let's start with DJ first.
I like the move. All this talk about him uh, being out of shape and all that. It's a bunch of hogwash, man. I don't want to hear that. That's what they say about people. That's what other people say about people when they can't get them.
And when they're scared.
Exactly. So nobody wants to hear all that. He's a guy that's going to get you the yak that you need. That those yards after catch, when you get to take a 5-yarder and make it a 15.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big guy. You can use him. What Cliff likes to do, those wide receiver screens. I think he's a huge body that's hard to bring down. And we all know in the red zone, you need a guy sometimes that can just go point the ball and bring it in. And he's got the hands, he's got the body, he's got the strength to manhandle any DB for a touchdown within that 5-yard, those fade routes he can get. So I think it was a great move for the price. I mean, they gave him a pack of Newports for Christ's sake. So I mean, I'll take that any day.
Yeah, I think I do. I mean, I'll get all your takes on this, but I think we're all going to be in agreement that it was a big move for this football team. Brad, you're up. What do you have?
I think for what Cliff Kingsbury liked to do, he was an amazing chess piece.
Yeah.
It's the words from my man Big Herb. If Zacchaeus was the base model, and then Samuel is the souped up version, right? With the sunroof and the heated seats and automatic start, right?
He's got the kit on it.
Right. I think he's going to be magical, especially for what, like I said, what Cliff does and what JD. This takes a little bit of help off Terry. I mean, some attention. Pressure. Yeah, so I'm excited about it, and I think they're going to keep adding more. I really, really do.
Oh yeah, they're not done. That was just the first piece. As I said the other day, that was just the first drop of some ingredients in the soup. It's still more to come. Brandon, what do you have?
I love it. I mean, being out in LA, and I got a lot of buddies that are Niners fans. They were hurt, man. They were, all my friends were texting me, God, you guys got Deebo. And I'm like, yes, and I'm sorry, but for us to only give up a fifth, and I think we got to eat a little bit of his money or something like that, but whatever. I mean,
but that's fine.
The guy produces, man. And it was funny, like a few weeks ago, I watched that wide receiver show that's on Netflix. And Deebo was one of the people that were featured on the thing. I mean, you couldn't get a nicer guy, and a guy that he just wants to win, man. He just wants to win.
But you know what he is? He's a nice guy off the field, but on the field, he's a jerk. On the field, he's an animal.
He's a menace, man.
But you know what? That's what we've wanted for years. How many times do we say, you can go to church, some other time, but on the field, I don't want that. I want a nasty, a guy that gets under your skin, that gets into your head, and they just picked up that dude. That dude that's going to make Terry even more, productive. That's going to make Terry probably even play more angry because now they're going to be competing with each other. Playful competition. So Josh, what do you have?
You guys hit on all the points I was thinking. The guy is a dude, and he wanted out of San Francisco and wanted on a team that that was going to get that ring. And the point that hasn't been brought up yet that was bugging me was all the other wide receivers that people wanted to get, like the Cups and the DKs. DK, they want too much for DK, I think. And Cup, and they kept bringing up the injuries. It wasn't last year. He's had some, but last year he still had 670 yards with the few games he played.
Yeah, and
he was still injured.
And that the thing is that I keep reminding people of this. Just 2 years ago, we're going into 3 years later now because the season's going to be starting here soon. But San Fran was in the Super Bowl, and the irony is that was the healthiest they've ever been. No one was injured. Christian McCaffrey was playing at a high level, Pro Bowl level. Brandon Ayuk was playing. I mean, George Kittle was George Kittle. I mean, everything was working. That's when Josh Purdy, everyone saw, okay, they have their quarterback now. So everything was working for them. Trent Williams was absolutely mauling people. And that was Deebo's best year, ironically. Yeah. This past year was his worst year. But look at the injuries the team had. Everyone else outside of himself and George Kittle was they were hurt. So don't you think teams are gonna, double team and shift their whole defensive game plan to stopping the one or two weapons that you have out on the field? Just ask Terry McLaurin. There's times where Terry's had one target or one catch. It's not that that's Terry's fault, but defenses were like, until somebody else shows me what they can do, we're taking this guy out the game. Well, you won't be able to do that now. And I think, when you look at Deebo, he's playing for a contract. And again, we just talked about it. Unfortunately, it works like that. Guys go all out when they know that the money's sitting at the end of the rainbow. That's a good thing if you're Washington. And I do want to say this, and I want to get your take on this, guys. I'm really getting irritated with some of the fans that are saying you can't afford all these players. You can like I mentioned DK Metcalf. He could be in play. He really
Would
could
love
be.
that. That'd be
Okay.
awesome.
With people saying you can't pay 3 wide receivers $20 million. Listen, when you look up the road in Philadelphia, they just won the Super Bowl and they're trying to get Myles Garrett. They're trying to keep Washington from getting.
Yeah.
They're trying to do whatever they can to keep getting better. And
Work
it's
ethic.
called spending money. You've got to spend money if you want to
To
be
make
good.
money, baby.
That's it. You spend money to make money. And at the end of the day, those are the good problems that you have. Don't you want a problem where you say, you know what, I really love this player over here, but this guy over here, if I get him, it's an upgrade over this. I mean,
Mhm.
it's a business at the end of the day. Are you trying to win or are you trying to make friends? And I think finally in this building, these guys are not trying to make friends. They're trying to be legit. They're trying to be the team that can legitimately compete against the Eagles. So I want to get your take on that. Do you feel like, this team needs to hit a salary cap, ceiling and say stop, or we're not going to spend this much money anymore? So we'll start with Josh on this.
No, I think it's time to spend money. I mean, when in the last 20 years have we been able to have a position like this to spend the money? I mean, and all this cap space that we got. And I mean, isn't the hit that we're taking with Deebo, we just got rid of John. I mean, it's almost evened out there.
Yeah.
No, it's time to go. I mean, this is the most exciting offseason I can remember in a very long time.
Probably
And
in 20 years because
Yeah.
there's realistic
Sure.
hope. It's not
realistic.
it's not like 2015, you made the playoffs, you knew you were going home against Green Bay, and then after that season's over, you're hoping and praying that maybe they can squeak in next year. 2012 was probably the first time where you felt like there was a young nucleus being put together, and then of course the quarterback gets hurt. But this is the first time, guys, in a long time that I think we all can agree that there's real hope and real expectations now, and the expectations are to be able to challenge the Eagles, to be able,
Yeah.
to I'm going to say this, maybe rise above Dallas right now within the division. There's real hope here. So, and getting back to that, Brandon, what's your take on that?
I think we have to, and I know, and I've been reading the same things you've been saying about DK. I mean, can you imagine if we got DK, Debo, and Terry in there? If that could work out somehow, I mean, it'd be amazing. But like, we have to do this because like you said, I don't remember when the last time we had this kind of money, or if we did, we'd get it on a guy who's way past his prime, and he'd
Absolutely.
just come in here and take
Or
Snyder's
Terry-
money and then leave.
Yeah, he would run out on the field with a black mask under his helmet. And
Exactly.
steal money from you,
Yeah.
that's not going to happen anymore. Brad, what do you think?
To everyone's point, we've always spent money. It just didn't spend it smartly, right? We overspend over guys. So now, like I said, we've got a competent GM who's going to spend that money wisely. And to your point about the Eagles, I was looking at their roster. They got the top paid players, and a lot of those positions. Jalen Hurts,
Come on now.
AJ, Vontae, now Saquon. They're
Saquon.
all
Deep.
linemen. Yeah, they got money and they still trying to. And I'm gonna tell you, I
Oh,
really
Zach Bond just got broke off. I
Yeah.
He
mean,
just got paid. He just
yeah,
got paid.
that's what I'm saying. So how? Listen, let me just not to cut you off, Brad, but I try to explain to fans a lot of times. This is the difference between big market teams and small market teams. The big market teams owners normally have much deeper pockets. Let's just call it like it is.
Yeah.
And because they have deeper pockets, what they can do is they can pay a player and make that signing bonus so big, the player could care less about their contract as far as their salary, yearly salary. You might see guys, making like $2 million a year, and it's all incentive based. But their signing bonus that they picked up, I think Zach Bond's guaranteed money was like $36 million at signing. So
Wow.
of course they can do that because Jeffrey Lurie's pockets are deep. So they're giving these guys these big contracts, but it's the signing bonuses that do it. And I think that that's going to be the way Washington. If there was one thing that, I know you guys might think I'm crazy saying this, but if there was one thing that Dan Snyder did, that kind of was a good thing, was that he did manipulate the salary cap. He really did. It's just that their talent evaluation, the money, as Brad said, was going to the wrong people. So that was the problem. But they always found a way, and it was because his pockets were deep, and he would sign guys and give them these massive signing bonuses. So I think that's going to be, the way a lot of these teams start maneuvering, despite having each year the salary cap is growing and growing and growing. But if you're Washington and you're Josh Harris, it's a good thing because that guy's got deep pockets, and he wants to win football games. So, DJ, what's your take on that? As far as having to spend the money.
Look, Dallas just created a whole bunch of cap room. They have no cap room coming in before free agency. And don't get it twisted. I mean, they only gonna get the bacon crumbs out of the grease. They ain't getting anything else. But it shows you can spend money and you can still adjust and make moves in the previous year. It's all about being smart about what you do. We all know some of this stuff, man, is just funny money. So it's always a malleable of how you can move your cap. So yes, you got to spend money. Sorry about the nitro car in the background.
That's all good.
You gotta spend money if you want to make money, like y'all said. And if you want to compete, with Philadelphia, and you want to be back in that position, and you want to knock them off, you're gonna have to go and get guys. If you don't want to sit back and penny pinch, well, it's gonna show up on the football field too.
Yeah, I mean, just look at what Chicago's doing now. They're building their trenches up on the offensive line around Caleb Williams because they saw he was under duress quite a bit last year. So it's smart business, and they're spending. They might even be. I know they got Joe Tooney up recently. They could be overspending for some of these guys, but they look at it like it's to protect their investment.
Yeah.
And now I think if you're Washington, you've gone out, you've made a move that's going to help Jayden by bringing in Deebo Samuel. But I think now you're going to see some of the other free agents are going to be across both those lines. Obviously there's a reason why you're letting John Allen walk, and you're hoping that Deron Payne can fill the void and step up and be the best defensive lineman on the roster. But they have Johnny Newton, and I know for a fact that they're going to draft one as well. They're going to probably go out and get themselves another interior defensive lineman or a guy that could do both. I wanted to get your take on the combine. Was there anyone that stood out to you that you guys like? The two guys that I did, I looked at quite a bit. I'm a big Derek Harmon fan, from Oregon, and I think that he's the type of guy that could fit in what Washington's doing because he's kind of a hybrid player. He's a guy that you can play, as a D tackle, but he's also a guy that can give you a little bit of edge rush as well. And before the season started, I thought he was a guy that was considered to be like a potential top draft pick. That's what people were talking about with him. So if you're Washington, I'm pretty confident that he'll be sitting there at 29. If you keep the pick, is that a player that you guys might take a look at, or was there someone else that you think would be, a better fit? Maybe a Kenneth Grant from Michigan might be there at 29. Let's start with Brad on this.
I do think I like him, but I just don't know if he'll be there. I really don't think so. And I like Pierce Jr.
James Pierce.
I like him.
But he's got a little bit of I never try to do this. DJ will tell you, I never try to slander anybody, without knowing them personally. So I'll give you my own take on that. So when James Pierce ran that 4.47, I was sitting right there in Indy, and when he ran it, when he turned around to go back to where, everyone else was getting ready to run, some of the guys were running to him, sprinting to him and trying to chest bump him or hype him up like they were excited for him. And he was, smack a hand and he just kept walking. Like he never stopped to tell someone thank you, or maybe I'm being fickle here, but I know what my eyes saw, so much so that I turned to my friend Cortland Griffin, who does a great job breaking down, draft prospects. I turned to him and I said, he's not even like acknowledging the guys that are trying to congratulate him. And then all I heard afterwards was that the knock on James Pierce was character issues. And
Wow.
so I heard that, and it literally made me think, I know what I just saw. That was not a good look in my mind. I was like, damn, like you can't acknowledge the guys that are, and these are some guys that he played with at Tennessee, but most of them were guys that he probably met there at the combine, and they were sprinting to him to congratulate him. And it was almost like he had no personality. That's what I saw. It was just a stoic, like, okay, so maybe I'm overblowing it. Brad, I know you said you liked the guy. I mean, he ran a 4.47, but I also know that he's a speed guy. But I think in the NFL, they just look at him exclusively as perhaps even an outside linebacker. Just a speed guy. DJ, these are guys that you cover at the Senior Bowl. I mean, what's your take on James Pierce?
Yeah, I don't like that look, man. You can't be out there and it comes off as very smug. And that's a huge problem in the locker room, because what is a guy going to act like when things aren't going his way? And things, it was something great right there, and they were trying to, really pump him up and say, "Hey, man, this is great. Thank you. This is awesome what you're doing out here," and everybody's happy for each other, and you're just like, nah.
Yeah, it was almost like, look, bro. Yeah, it was almost like, I don't know you.
Right. That's disrespectful. And and if you see that and then you hear about a guy having character issues, you better believe the tea leaves that you're reading.
Yeah, because when I kid you guys not, when I saw it, I just said to myself, that was a little creepy, if that's the word. Cringy, that's the word. It was cringy what I saw. And then to follow up, to hear the next day and the day after that was some of the talk that was coming out, character issues with the guy, and I'm like, wow, I kind of saw just a tad bit of that in that display right there. So,
I heard that. Sorry, but I thought that was just teams putting that out there so the other teams won't get him. You know how teams would throw out something.
Sure. It could be a combination of both, though. Okay. I mean, but I just know for Washington, I'm passing, because I just know, being in that locker room all last year, I just know what it is. I just know. Well, first of all, I can tell you this right now, Bobby Wagner wouldn't be having that anyway in that locker room. But guess what? That's what they just moved on from someone we talked about earlier. There's no way they want to put a younger version of that in there. No, absolutely not. Josh, what's your take on that?
I'm going to concede on the combine stuff because I usually wait till we draft somebody, then I go watch a lot of tape.
Okay.
I did go watch the kid from Oregon a little bit after we talked last week. He looks really nice. As far as if the kid had attitude or not, it's not what it's not what AP's looking for. It's not what they built last year. So, you might take a guy further down the line with a great attitude and wants to be a leader than a guy that's going to be drafted sooner, that's got, can't put his head in the helmet because his ego's too big.
I like that. Brandon, what do you have?
I didn't look at a lot of guys, and I did look up the guy from Oregon who you were saying. I think he'd be great. Obviously, I hope he's there. I think he should be there. I mean, and wishfully thinking, I was looking at Gentry because I like that guy as a running back. He's a beast, but I'm sure he's going to go quick.
Yeah, I think Gentry's gone.
he's gone. So, yeah. I didn't see a lot of guys, so I can't really comment on that too much.
Okay, so let's do this. And folks, right now it's Fan Friday, and I've got 4 of my favorite folks on with me. DJ Bland obviously is part of Sports Journey. Make sure you check him out at sportsjourney.com. Does some great stuff. He's actually working right now, doing a great job at the Gator Nationals down in Florida. So if you are an NHRA guy, and you like your cars, your fast cars, this guy knows his stuff on that too. By the way, DJ, I love the promo that you did earlier. And guess what, guys? He said he channeled his Lake Lewis. He did one take, so
It
that's
was
the
one
nickname.
take.
One
There you
take
go.
Lake.
One take Jake.
So once you start saying that, it's going to put pressure on you, and it's going to come. It's
You
going to
know
come.
it.
So one of the things now, like, with the fact that you have the combine, and then we have the draft coming up. Well, in between that draft, obviously, is free agency. And I asked you guys last week, what do you guys get up for the most? Do you feel like this year specifically, not in years past, but this year specifically, which one of the three things do you think is more important for this team to continue the trajectory that they're on, to get to a Super Bowl? Do you think it's the talent evaluation at the combine? Do you think it's free agency? Or do you think it's, obviously the combine and draft kind of go hand in hand? Or do you think it's making sure come draft day they pick the right guys? So kind of a tough one there because all three are important. But which one do you feel like is front and center? We'll start with DJ on this.
Look, I think it's a combination of all of it. You have to do the right things and make the right moves in free agency that are going to better your football team. And sometimes that's bringing in guys that that can be impact guys. Because when you go into the draft, those guys are also going to be an impact. But you want the guys that you bring in for free agency to be able to mentor and be a catalyst to push the guys that you're bringing in from the draft to accelerate what talent you see from drafting. So I think it's all it's a balance, and it's a balancing act there, but all of it is important in building teams. We've been talking about, you look at the Philadelphia Eagles and the things that they've done through the draft, through free agency, all those things are important. And I think that umbrella, that right there is where you have to hit at to be a balanced and a good football team all the way around. And that's something this team's missed a lot too, as far as free agencies and drafting.
Absolutely. Josh.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a combination of both. I think right now, last year was key because nobody wanted to come to Washington.
Yeah.
Got a lot of key guys.
Yeah.
We want a lot of those key guys to stay. I want to see Chin get a contract, but not everybody can stay. I mean, Fowler, there's a lot of guys, but I think we have to continue through free agency as well, because now we have a lot of people that want to come to Washington. They want to come here. So, Hendrickson is going, licking some chops. I don't have to be in Cincy with these crazy owners anymore. They don't have a crazy owner anymore. I mean, they want to come here. It's a destination. Well, of course, the kids want to be drafted here. They want to play with JD5. I mean, he's the talk of the town right now. I want to see the trenches built the most right now, especially after the Deebo take. But we leave it up to the pros, don't we? I'm just a singer in a rock band.
The adults in the room. Finally, we finally have those. It's not
so glad we got the adults in the room.
Not romper room anymore. So
man.
it's some real live adults putting belt to tail.
Yeah.
And that's
a destination. We haven't been a destination team for 20 plus years, and we are now. So
It's been a minute.
let's get those defensive. Let's get that one defensive guy or the two, like we talked about last week. That you talked about last week, Lake.
Yeah, well, we can't get Crosby now, so we can hope.
No, it's okay. We can get Hendrickson.
You get Hendrickson and Garrett. That would be something,
okay.
right?
I'll be okay.
I don't think the league is going to allow that one to happen. Brandon, what you got?
I think we were incredibly blessed to be able to draft JD5 and get what we got out of him and what we're going to continue to get with him, and then put those free agency pieces, having Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz, Eckler, those guys, and bringing in all this free agents. I mean, what free agency's Wednesday, right? Next Wednesday. There's going to be some crazy things happening, and
the first day is going to be bonkers.
It's going to be bonkers. and yes, I do want to see a young guy come in from the draft, but I really think Peters is going to keep building through the free agency and get those people. I'm doing my voodoo dance. I want Garrett so bad, man. I want Garrett so bad.
Yeah, he
Seriously.
he texted me earlier. He DM'd me earlier and was like, what's the chances? And I think they're getting one of those guys because I just think
Yeah.
that they know they're so close and they know
Yeah.
that you if you're gonna play the Eagles, I mean you've got to make Jalen Hurts uncomfortable. You have
You
to.
have to.
The Eagles are not resting on their laurels. They're still trying to get another edge rusher because they know first of all they're probably going to lose a couple players on their D line because of the success they had. So Josh
Yeah.
Sweat's more
Yeah.
than likely going to be gone. Kid Walker might be gone as well. So the point is they've got to refresh and retool, and then Brandon Graham's going to probably be retiring. So
Yeah.
that's three bodies that they're going to have to replace. And
Big bodies.
yeah,
Didn't they just lose two cornerbacks too? Didn't they
Right.
yeah,
lose
so
Bradbury and
Right.
Darius Slade a release, so he's more than likely going to end up probably in Detroit. That I'm calling that, Brad. He'll go back to where it all started for him and to end his career there. So, yeah, I mean it's just interesting stuff. I mean, Brad, what do you think?
I think, of course, we want the draft to get that like the cabinet stocked so we can
Hmm.
tool. But I, I think there's some truth to what Frankie Louvu said. The guys want to come here,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
They want to, and they saw that locker room. I would get hyped when he would do his hype, the Ric Flair
Yeah.
shit in the locker room. Man, I used to, I
He
used
was my
to-
favorite to watch last year.
That was
Besides
yeah,
great.
five
That
on
was great.
defense, God, I loved watching Frankie.
and you know
Mhm.
what, guys? Speaking of Frankie, think of how good. Everyone keeps talking about how the secondary was so at times and linebacking core, yeah. And I'm like, no. You had two Pro Bowl linebackers last year, Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu. Imagine if they had those dogs in front of them going off.
Yeah.
So in other words, what I'm saying is put Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner as Philadelphia's linebackers.
Right.
put
Right.
Lattimore and Mikey Sanders as
Mhm.
their corners and,
Mhm.
and watch what happens. And that all starts because what you have to do in the trenches. So last thing here, and obviously having you guys on a Friday, definitely appreciate you guys coming on, and we do this every week, folks. If you want to join the podcast on Friday, Fan Day, all you've got to do is just DM me your email, let me know, that you want to come on. All I ask is that you keep it clean. I don't need to say that, but sometimes you do need to tell people that you got to keep it clean, or you will never be on here again. So, with that said, uh, I want to get your take on this, and this is the one that I felt like might get people a little uncomfortable with this one. So last week I said that I thought Jayden Daniels had ascended just after 1 year to being a top five quarterback. And I said obviously we know who the big four are ahead of him. Okay, and if you're in disagreement, then you probably would lose out on this argument that we're going to come up with. But Patrick Mahomes, and not in any particular order, but just those four that are ahead of Jayden right now: Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. All
Yeah.
right. And then you have another tier, and Jayden starts that tier. So I have Jayden at five. But the tier that Jayden's in, to me, it's Jayden. It's Jalen Hurts. It's I'm gonna put Dak Prescott in that category as well. Okay. I'm gonna put Matt Stafford in that category. I'm gonna put uh, CJ Stroud in that category. Okay, and I'm missing one that I have in that group as well. Um,
Herbert,
oh my gosh, I just lost my train.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Herbert,
Herbert.
Herbert.
Herbert, you said?
Justin Herbert,
Yeah.
yes, Justin Herbert. I have in there. Out of those, the second tier guys that I just named, would you take any of them over Jayden Daniels? All right, so I already knew the answer. I already knew you were going to say that. So now this is where I have to. This is the one that's going to make it uncomfortable. When we rate quarterbacks and we rate them from what winning, right? Um, Jalen Hurts has a Super Bowl, and he's been in two Super Bowls. He's an MVP of one Super Bowl, and he should have been the MVP of the one they lost because he outplayed Patrick in that game
Yeah.
too.
Kid.
Why are we not saying Jalen Hurts is number five? I'm gonna pose it to you guys now. I want to know what your answer is for that. Brad, we'll start with you.
Knew you were going to come to me.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, being honest, being real, like I think we kind of put him at 5. He got the chip. He got the ring. He's been there a couple of times.
And he's got something that the other 3 that are in that top 4 don't have. And not only do they not have a Super Bowl win, they don't even have an appearance.
Right.
So he's got 2 in 3 years. So I'm starting to think that maybe we should put Jayden at 6. Is it fair to say that, guys?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You got
absolutely.
I'll take that.
Okay. So if there's some Eagles fans watching this, they're going to probably be, they're probably on the ground right now because they can't believe we're saying this.
Oh, we don't want to say it.
I mean,
give the guys flowers.
Respect.
Give the guys flowers.
Right.
Respect.
all right. So check it out. This is where it gets uncomfortable, though, because I knew you guys were going to say this. Because I know you guys. I knew you were going to say this. So this is where this whole thing gets uncomfortable. Jalen cemented himself as a top 5 to me. So now the pressure's on Burrow, it's on Allen, it's on Lamar. And listen, the guy that I'm probably going to say, you're going to be shocked when I say this, might have to get moved down and be number 6 after this coming year. If Jayden has the same type of year he had, takes Washington to the playoffs, a deep run into the playoffs, not even a Super Bowl appearance, but say like another NFC championship game and they lose to the Eagles again. Let's just hypothetically say that. And Joe Burrow just makes the playoffs and goes home. I think out of all those quarterbacks we named, he's the guy that you may have to start comparing with Jayden. And guess what? Jayden beat Joe last year at his home turf.
Yep.
I'm starting to seriously recalculate the way I'm starting to rate these things. And I'm saying, is Joe Burrow probably one of the best gunslingers in the league? He might be number 1, seriously. And he's got dogs at wide receiver. They're not winning. So I don't want any excuses. And you have a Pro Bowl, edge rusher that everybody and their mom wants now. So I don't want to hear any excuses. Jayden, if you put Jayden as Cincinnati's quarterback, we're having a different conversation right now. So my question now to you guys is, when you come up with your top 5, is Joe Burrow cemented right now to you as a top 5 guy, or do you really try to find a way to put Jayden in there?
No, he's not cemented in that. And really, you should move Jalen Hurts up to 4, and then you would be able to put
Jayden at 5.
JD at 5. I mean, Joe has done. He looks good at times, and he's a great gunslinger and does a great job of, sometimes pulling the rabbit out of the hat. But that's sometimes. Think of the receivers he's got. And here we are. I mean, don't get me wrong. Their offensive line ain't that great, but let's just say Jayden didn't have a great offensive line either.
But you know what? You know what though? I gotta go back in. I fact checked myself there. Joe Burrow has been to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So we do have to remember that. So he
True.
has gone to a Super Bowl. He lost in that Super Bowl naturally to the Rams, to Matt Stafford.
Right.
Got it. To me, is like 7 right now. Okay.
Yep.
But as far as just the impact on the game, I don't know how you can keep a Jalen Hurts out of that top 5. You
can't.
You can't.
That's doing that kid a disservice if we were to do that, and that's not fair because he just won that thing.
It's
So,
in their case if you can't always go by the numbers. You can't.
all right. So do we just keep Jayden out of that top 5 for right now until he has another prove it to me type year?
He's in the top 5 for me.
I love you, DJ.
So no, you got to take your fan bias away. Do you seriously think? Because you're going to have to move Joe out because we already said Jalen Hurts is in.
Here's why he's a 5 for me. He's the leader.
Okay.
They all follow him. I don't see that in Cincy. I don't see that in Cincy.
That's not bad. That's not bad. I'm not.
Everybody playing for themselves in Cincy.
Good point, Josh. Good point.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let y'all say that. I'm not saying that. I'm just, I could be thinking it, but I'm not saying it.
I mean,
So-
how about this? How about this? And don't mean to cut you off, DJ. We took a rookie quarterback with Terry McLaurin, Noah Brown, What else do we have?
De'Ami Brown.
Zacchaeus,
Yeah,
De'Ami Brown.
Zacchaeus.
I mean, these
Luke
guys weren't
McCaffrey.
really McCaffrey, and
Jahan Dotson, who they basically, as
he
DJ
got his
said earlier, they didn't get rid of him for a pack of Newports. They got rid of him for some Twizzlers.
right. And I want to say top 5, yeah, but look
Okay.
what he's done with
Mhm.
what we had. And Joe Burrows has 2 of the best wide receivers, if not one of the best in the NFL.
He has
I mean,
the best
facts.
Jamar
receiver in
Chase
football.
he's God, dude. He's amazing.
Yeah, I think he's the best.
He is the best. And that guy will catch anything. And look what Jayden did. And look what he did by himself sometimes when he just, screw it, 4th and 11, I'm going.
Mhm.
Joe Burrow doesn't do that. I mean, he's amazing, but this kid's like on another level, man. Maybe we're biased.
I don't think
This is why I wanted to pose this.
JD5 coming in looking like, in all the, like he's posing for GQ. I don't see him doing that ever in his career. I just don't think he's that kind of kid.
Nah.
Okay. All right. This is good. No, this is good. Because this is why I wanted to pose it. Because literally at the combine, I was thinking about like, okay, I always think about different topics to kind of rile it up a little bit. But I was just like, I have him as a top 5 quarterback. Jayden, I'm talking about. And then I broke down all the other quarterbacks, and obviously Patrick's in there. You'd never take him out. Lamar's in there. I don't care what anyone says. He's got 2
Lamar's
MVPs.
awesome.
Yeah, so he's in
Should have
there.
got 3.
Should have got 3. Yeah, I thought he was the MVP this year, but that's a whole
Me
nother
too.
story. So with that said, Josh Allen got the MVP this year, and he definitely played. He was deserving. I'm not going to say he wasn't. He's just a phenom. So, and I saw him ascend this year. Joe Burrow had a hell of a year this year. He really did.
Yeah.
But the common denominator with every quarterback I just named in this argument to be in the top 5, every last one of them made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Except for
Joe Burrow.
So that's what I'm saying, man. That stuff to me, it's not how pretty you throw the football and how many yards you put up. It's where are you at the end of the day? I'm an old head. I remember Dan Fouts. Just throwing that ball all over the field for Eric Coryell, when he was with the San Diego Chargers at the time. They could not beat the Raiders to save their life. I don't care.
Look at Marino.
Yeah, Dan Marino, same thing, throwing the ball all over the field with the Marx brothers, and they got demolished by the 49ers in the Super Bowl, and he never went back. He never, ever sniffed the Super Bowl after that. It's not an easy thing to do. So for me, Joe Burrow has made that Super Bowl, and to me, that's why I say he's a great quarterback, and he's generally viewed as one of the top 4. But what I saw with this young kid in DC last year was nothing short of epic. It was under the circumstances, a rookie quarterback that they never put training wheels on, by the way. They didn't spoon feed him and say, oh, we're not going to let you do this because you can't do that. We saw that with all the other rookie quarterbacks last year. They all had really good years. Bo Nix had a phenomenal year, but Bo Nix had training wheels on him, and you could see it. You did not see that with Jayden Daniels, and on top of that, he elevated the best offensive player's game on Washington's roster to be an elite wide receiver. That's all I'm saying, man. You have to take that stuff into consideration. And oh, by the way, last thing here, and I'll be done with this part, is that when you go back to that NFC Championship game, Washington did not lose that football game because of Jayden Daniels.
No.
He balled out in that football game. He just and guess who else had a big play? Terry McLaurin. It was everybody else. Zach Ertz had 11 catches. He balled out. Those are the 3 guys that you knew were going to show up, and they did it all year long, but they didn't have the help that some of these other guys have on their roster. Lamar Jackson, it wasn't Lamar Jackson that dropped that pass that would have tied the game against Buffalo. Right. That was a Pro Bowl tight end, Mark Andrews, who had a bad game. So, for everybody that says out there, Jalen Hurts doesn't have to do much. That's not true. He's a quarterback, and he has to make sure everybody is satisfied on that football field. Obviously, yeah. So I'm putting him in there. So I'm now elevating Jalen Hurts to be number 4. And I'm going to say this. It might not be, comfortable with you 4 gentlemen. I got Jayden at 6 right now. I'm just going to put him at 6. and that's not a bad thing. That's not like
Oh.
a penalty. I
Hey, the
have
fact we got a top 10 QB, I'm happy.
that's what I'm saying. And ascending, not
You're-
six and not
Yeah.
stagnant. Not hoping and praying he can stay there. No, we're talking about 6 that he wants to be 1. So, yeah, I'm gonna put him right now at 6, and I have Jalen Hurts at 5. I'm gonna put Joe Burrow at 4. Okay, and somebody can say, well, you just said Jalen won the thing. He did, but Joe Burrow still like that. I mean, he's still
Yeah,
nice. So
and you got to give it to him because he's been consistent. He's done it
Very
for
good
multiple
for you.
years, regardless of who he got out there. He did it consistently. So you got to leave
okay.
him. I do think Jalen was going to surpass him. I mean, Jayden was
Oh
going to
yeah.
surpass him
Well,
eventually, but he only done it 1 year, and we all know it's much more than that coming.
and they have a tougher schedule coming up. We're
Yeah.
gonna see everything's gonna show itself to be
Been
what
watching
we
tape
think
since
it
that
is.
game.
But I think the difference is, yeah, they have a tougher schedule, but they're a tougher football team themselves, and they're gonna have more players that's gonna make him more equipped to do certain things. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. So look, folks, in about 1 minute we'll wrap this up, but I want to get your final take. If there's one player that you want them to get come next Wednesday when free agency starts, who would that player be? Let's go, Brandon. We'll start with you first this time,
I
and then
want
DJ.
Miles Garrett, man. I
All
want
right,
Miles Garrett.
you
That's
want
it.
Miles?
I want
Okay,
Miles, man. We
that's
need him.
fair. That's
We
fair.
need him.
All right, DJ. Who do you want? You're on mute. You're on mute. There we go.
As far as draft pick,
No. Free agent.
Free agents.
free agent,
When free agent starts next
Trey
week.
Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson. All
Okay.
day, every day. Get
Okay.
that man. That solidifies and helps solidifies that defensive line. Man, you talking about a beast.
Okay. So you're not on the
Whew.
Miles Garrett train.
If you can get him too, go
No,
ahead. But
no. I'm saying if you had to give, it's your call. It's one or the
it's
other.
Trey Hendrickson right now.
Okay. All right.
Realistically, yeah.
All right, Brad.
Man, I want to say so many names, man. But for the sake of it, I want a free agent, somebody that we don't have to give up picks for.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I want Ward, the cornerback out of San Francisco, to
Oh.
match
Charvarius Ward. Okay.
him with
You do
Mark.
not predict that he signed him with Washington, right?
Come on, man. You Nostradamus.
did?
Come on,
Yeah,
say it,
yeah,
man.
I did. I
You
said
did.
that. I did. I absolutely
Uh,
did. I actually said, and I actually tweeted out last week in Indy that I still see perhaps 2 more 49ers coming over to Washington. Deebo came over. I think Charvarius Ward's going to be the other. I do. I think you pair him with Lattimore. He's only 28 years old,
Yeah.
just turning 28. So if he's turned 28 yet, I'm not sure, but I know he should be 28. So he's another guy that can be physical, has experience, knows Adam Peters, of course, knows Deebo Samuel, of course. So I could see that fitting. And then you move Mikey Sainristil into the slot, which I think was his natural position. And now you're talking, man. So all right, so that wasn't bad, Brad. That was good. Okay. But what you got, Josh?
After that, my movie award. I want to be on the Garrett train so bad, but I think the reason why is I just see a dogfight in Cleveland.
Yeah.
That owner's digging in his heels, not wanting to even talk to the guy. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah, they've got to make a move there. They're
Yeah.
they're gonna have to make a move and
they
figure that out.
definitely have to. But Hendrickson, who's our linebackers coach? He's a Kerrigan 2.0.
Ken Norton.
Yeah, Ken Norton, but he's a Kerrigan 2.0, and they're asking for a fourth or a fifth.
No, I think it's
Second,
gonna be.
no, they said
it's
second
gonna
and
be.
third. They said
Yeah, I was
second.
gonna say it's gonna be a little higher than that. It's gonna be a
Yeah,
second and a
second or
third.
third.
I think you can get.
I can pin that down.
I think you can get Hendrickson with a third and a fourth.
Yeah,
I think you have to entertain doing that. You
I
really
do
do.
too.
Because
look at his stats. He's Kerrigan 2.0.
Well, and he's a
Same time.
high character dude too. On top of that,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
that's what fits your locker room. He's almost like a Max Crosby. I think Max Crosby would have been a perfect fit, but
Without the tats.
I think Hendrickson could be a nice addition, and you're not going to have to give up what you're going to have to give up to get Miles Garrett. So
Yeah.
One of my
You know,
choices.
but I'm gonna throw somebody else in there at you guys, and then we'll wrap this up. I think the team might have to take a hard look at Ronnie Stanley. You know, tight end for the
From
Ravens.
Baltimore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
from Baltimore, because
Yeah.
he's available, and you would not have to give up a whole lot for him at this point in his career. But he had a really strong, solid year for them last year. And I think if you're Washington, you have to think about your offensive line play now because of the fact that Sam Cosmi's going to be out for a while.
Yeah.
If you can get, Stanley as your starting left tackle, you can either make Brandon Coleman your left guard, or you make him your right tackle, which I think they would. He would be your starting right tackle, and then you could have Allegretti, come in there and fill in for Cosme. You move him over. So there's different things that you can do with that unit if you can go out and get a veteran, offensive lineman, which I think they're going to do. I think they're going to get two
Yeah.
of them, to be precise. So, fellas, man, this is what we
But
do,
hey.
man. Outside of the record button earlier, we do this all the time. So no, that was good. How long have we been on? I'm checking it out here.
About an hour.
About an hour. There we go.
Yeah.
See, that it's just the biological clock in the head. So yeah, man, this is good, and you guys know I greatly appreciate you guys coming on, and you guys are in different time zones, let alone making this work. So, Josh, appreciate you coming to us from Minneapolis, from Minnesota, and Brandon from LA, Brad from Detroit. DJ's down there in Florida right now, still working. Look at him trying, like Schefter, he's looking at the phone and all that good stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, we're gonna wrap it up. But fellas, man, I appreciate you guys always doing this, and we'll be back here same time, same place next week for Friday Fan Day. So appreciate you guys coming on.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks, boss.
All right,
Thank
take
you.
care now.
Take
Have a
it
good
easy.